While spending the holidays with Avic's brother and his wife in Elphin, we explored south and west to Waterford, Sligo, and Killarney. 2 days after we arrived, the four of us rode 3 hours south to Waterford, the oldest town in Ireland. We stayed in the beautiful Tower Hotel. Right on the river shore, the hotel gets its name from Reginald's Tower across the street. We came to Waterford for the annual Winterval. Despite the rain, the festival was in full swing our first night, with carnival rides and food and drink vendors, and the whole town was well kitted out for Christmas. And of course, we had to stop in a pub for a pint or two. Reginald's Tower was built in the late 12th century under orders from Anglo-Norman Prince John of England, Lord of Ireland. John, infamous from the Robin Hood legend, would later become King of England and sign the Magna Carta. The stone tower was built on the site of the original wooden Viking fortress from the year 914 and named for Ragnall, or Reginald, the Norse leader who built the settlement of Waterford into Ireland's first town. Unfortunately, the museum inside that tower was closed due to COVID, as were other small museums. But the model longboat and the nearby ornately carved Dragon Slayer sword are pretty amazing by themselves. From the original walled Viking town, now called Viking Triangle, Waterford was expanded during the Middle Ages, becoming a key trading port for the kings of England. Remnants of the medieval city walls can be seen today by walking the perimeter of the old town. The Medieval Museum has some wonderful exhibits on Waterford's history. Including the Great Charter Roll, a 4-meter chronology of Waterford used in a long-running dispute with the nearby port of New Ross. This illustrated scroll is now a national treasure of Ireland. Another national treasure, these gold-threaded clerical vestments were hidden in 1650 before Oliver Cromwell's New Model Army captured the city during the English Civil War. The vestments lay hidden for 123 years until the construction of the new Protestant cathedral. The museum also has a small collection of crystalware, Waterford, of course, being famous for its crystal. Modern Waterford sprawls well beyond the old town, and like many cities during the late 20th century, experienced a period of urban blight. Within the past few years, several projects, including Waterford Walls, have aimed to rejuvenate the downtown. The commissioned street art is all over and really helps to brighten up the place. Sligo is on the Atlantic coast, about an hour drive from Elphin. The town itself has a population of around 20,000 with some pretty good shopping. And a nice promenade along the Garvogue River. But it is best known as the childhood home of Nobel Prize-winning poet William Butler Yeats. Sligo was part of the ancient Gaelic kingdom of Connacht, and County Sligo has one of the highest densities of prehistoric sites in Ireland. Knocknarea Mountain dominates the skyline for miles around Sligo. The cairn atop it is where the legendary Queen Maid is supposed to be buried. Unfortunately, the weather was too dodgy to risk the long exposed hike to the top. In the eastern shadow of Knocknarea, Carramore was built over 5,000 years ago and is the largest cemetery of megalithic tombs in Ireland. Access was closed off for the season, but with our zoom lens and drone we managed a bit of a look around. Including into and over this stone circle, despite some pretty high winds. Sligo is along the Wild Atlantic Way coastal route, and the day we visited west of Knocknarea, the Atlantic was certainly wild and unruly. But not too wild for a walk along the coast, and not wild enough to keep these folks off of the golf course. Our final extended excursion from Elphin was to the southwest town of Killarney. We took the train from Roscommon, capital of County Roscommon, a nice, modern and clean train with a transfer in Dublin's Heuston station. Killarney, in the southwest county of Kerry, is smaller than Sligo, with about 15,000 inhabitants. The Irish name, Killarney, means Church of Sloes, a plant known as an ingredient in sloe gin. Killarney was still beautifully decorated for Christmas, and nearly empty of tourists this time of year. The 19th century St. Mary's Cathedral in the west of town is the seat of a Catholic diocese that dates back to the 6th century. The interior isn't elaborate as cathedrals go, but the stone and wood structure and stained glass windows are beautiful. A giant mural across the street from our flat depicts Monsignor Hugh O'Flaherty. Raised in Killarney, his heroic acts while stationed in the Vatican during World War II are depicted by Gregory Peck in the movie The Scarlet and the Black. Just beside the mural, we had a view of the mountains of the Killarney National Park in the distance. The UNESCO Bioreserve covers 26,000 acres, and some parts are easily accessed by car, so we rented one in town. We first went south to Muckross House. Billed as Killarney's premier tourist attraction, the 19th century house was built for an Anglo-Irish landed family. In 1932, the house and 11,000-acre estate were willed to the nation of Ireland, forming Ireland's first national park. Killarney National Park was later expanded around it. The grounds are gorgeous, including several kilometers of trails and beautiful views of Muckross Lake. The rugged, moss-covered trees reminded us of Fangorn Forest from The Lord of the Rings, and we half expected a tree to reach out and grab us.
I am no tree.
Walking upstream from Muckross Lake, the sound of the river is soothing. About half a kilometer later, you arrive at the beautiful Torque Waterfall. West of Killarney, across Loch Lean, the Gap of Dunloe splits the two highest mountain ranges in Ireland. It was formed 25,000 years ago during Ireland's last ice age, when a glacier broke through the mountains and carved out the entire U-shaped valley. The name Dunloe is believed to come from Dunloich, Gaelic for Fortress of Loich. In Irish mythology, Diala MacLoich was the father of the 5 chieftains who conquered Ireland and divided it into 5 provinces. One of the main reasons for visiting Killarney is the Ring of Kerry. The 100-mile-plus loop along the Wild Atlantic Way is renowned for its scenery and history, popular with drivers, cyclists, and hikers. Frost was still on the grass when we set off on our drive. Our first stop for some hot coffee was the quaint village of Sneem, from an Irish word meaning knot. One possible source of the name is the knotty shape the river takes as it flows through the town into the bay beyond. The rugged terrain provides some of the most dramatic landscapes we've ever seen, especially when we reach the Atlantic coast. Along the way, we drove past a set of standing stones. Unfortunately, access was blocked, so we could only admire from a distance. A couple miles off the main road, west of Sneem, we were able to access Steg Fort. Built sometime before the 5th century CE, entirely without mortar, this late Iron Age ring fort is typical for local chieftains of the time, and once provided a secure structure for the chief's family, guards, and servants. The many interior stairs provided easy access for patrolling the flat top, which gave a clear view of the surrounding hills and the lower land all the way to the sea. About halfway around the ring, the village of Waterville has named their ocean walk after movie star Charlie Chaplin, who vacationed there regularly with his family during the 1950s and 60s. We stopped for a late picnic meal and just took in the beautiful seascapes. The wonderful weather we'd had most of our time in Killarney came to an end the morning we departed. But it's the rain that gives the Emerald Isle its emerald color.